Hey everybody, how we doing? I want to talk about the Trump abortion controversy that's come up. Totally unnecessary controversy, but we're going to talk about it. He didn't have to make it, but he did. So now I've been doing pro-life work for 20 years, so I know what I'm talking about on these issues. I voted for Trump twice. Okay, so I'm not like a never Trumper person. Now we know Trump was pro-abortion years ago, right? And then he changed and he was pro-life, but now he has switched back to being pro-abortion, and I'm going to explain that in a minute. And I know it's a lot of whiplash. So let me walk through it. In May of this year, 2024, Trump referenced the heartbeat law in Florida, and he used the word harsh in reference to the heartbeat bill. Now, what is the heartbeat bill? The heartbeat bill says if a woman's pregnant and the doctor can detect a heartbeat for the unborn human, it's illegal to abort that unborn human unless it's some exceptional situation, which they have outlined in the law. So basically, it's a protection at around 6 weeks. That's when you can detect the heartbeat of the unborn human. Trump says it was harsh to protect that unborn human. Very strange language for somebody who alleges to be pro-life. So that was in May of 2024. Then in September, just a couple of days ago, Trump referenced that same law again, the Florida heartbeat law, and he called it terrible. Okay, and that created a whole firestorm. Now, he said a lot of other things in that NBC interview a couple days ago. Those are not the controversy. He's going to negotiate with this person and negotiate with that person, and the Democrats are extreme, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine, whatever. I don't have an issue with any of that stuff. That is not the controversy. So don't get distracted on all the other things. All the other things is not the important point. The important point was his calling this law harsh in May and terrible in September. Here's why it matters. Trump said that a state law, this is really, really important, that a state law that protects the unborn early in pregnancy, that they're immoral, they're harsh, they're terrible, they're immoral, they're wrong, they're bad. Not just it's not a good time politically right now. It's not that it's a poor political judgment. He didn't say that. He said it's terrible and harsh. He's saying they're wrong, they're bad. It is immoral, it's evil, whatever, to protect the unborn early on in pregnancy. That's a very strange thing to say, and then in the next breath claim you're pro-life, because that's contradictory. So the fact that he's referencing a state law, he's attacking and condemning a state pro-life law is really important here, because if it's wrong to pass this at the state level and it's wrong to pass it at the federal level, where are you going to pass it? Nowhere. Trump actually is against pro-life laws early in pregnancy. That's an issue because 93% of abortions occur before the 14th week of pregnancy. So if you're not protecting them early in pregnancy, you're letting the vast majority of abortions be legal. And so he's saying, basically, the only moral thing to do is to let them kill hundreds of thousands of innocent unborn humans every year. Oh, and by the way, I'm pro-life. It just makes no sense to say it's wrong, it's terrible and harsh to protect the unborn early on. Now, he said, well, maybe he would do 15 weeks at the federal level and all these other things. That's not relevant. The thing that's relevant here is he's pro-abortion. He is pro-abortion because he wants the vast majority of abortions to be legal. So for someone to be pro-life, they have to believe that abortion should be illegal against the law all the time or nearly all the time. Maybe they can have some exceptions for rare circumstances, and Trump does talk about those exceptions, that he has those. But what he fails to mention sometimes is that he doesn't just have the exceptions of rape, incest, and life of the mother. He also has another exception, which is basically the early pregnancies. All of the early pregnancies, you have to go through. You have to allow them to be aborted if the woman wants to, and to prohibit her from killing the baby with an abortion doctor is harsh, is terrible, immoral. It's wrong, is what he's saying. So that puts him in a pro-abortion position, because the pro-abortion position is anybody who wants abortion to be legal most of the time, most or all of the time. Now, there's no other presidential candidate, no matter how like rhino they are and other things, None of them attack state pro-life laws. None of them say it is wrong for a state to pass a law that protects the unborn early in pregnancy. None of them say it. There's only one candidate who is opposed to early pregnancy pro-life laws. That's Trump. And he's the only pro-abortion Republican candidate running for president. Trump is the only pro-abortion Republican candidate for president. Everyone else is pro-life. Now, they might differ what they want to do on the federal level. They might say, well, we can't pass anything, or, really we should let states decide. We like local governance more. They have lots of different arguments about what they want to do or not want to do at the federal level. But none of them, other than Trump, say states are wrong for passing laws that protect the unborn early in pregnancy. We have over 17 states. I think we have 19 actually. States that have laws that are like heartbeat laws or earlier in pregnancy. So 17 to 19 Republican pro-life states. Trump opposes all of that. He opposes all of those laws by implication of what he said on NBC a couple days ago and what he said back in May. Now, I just want to say this. This is not a slip up by Trump. He's a smart guy. You don't become a billionaire if you don't know how to, not knowing how to speak. He knows what he said, and he knows what the controversy has been since then. And he came out with a clarification on Truth Social, and I read through his clarification statement. And guess what? His clarification statement totally dodges the issue. He doesn't address it, which tells you he knows what he said. Because everybody's been criticizing him on specifically calling the heartbeat bill terrible. Everybody's been criticizing him on that. Then 2 days later, he comes out with a Truth Social statement, and he talks about everything under the sun except the controversy. So that tells you he's doubling down. He's doubling down. His silence tells you what he really believes. This is a typical politician tactic. They say some liberal leftist thing. People call him out on it. There's outrage all over the place. And then they issue a statement devised by some political consultants that says all kinds of stuff and does not address the issue that makes people upset. And that's what he did. It's a very slick statement, but he totally dodged the issue. So point number one is Trump is pro-abortion because he wants the vast majority of abortions to be legal. He's pro-abortion because he wants the vast majority of abortions to be legal in all 50 states. All 50 states. Now, that's point number one. Point number two is this. Suppose Trump came out tomorrow and said, I've changed my mind. I am pro-gun control. We want to confiscate the guns. We're pro-gun control. Second Amendment was stupid. We're going to take all your guns. Pro-gun control. Suppose he came out. He's not going to do that. But suppose he came out tomorrow and said that. Well, the NRA would be ticked, wouldn't they? They'd be mad. The NRA and everybody else would be ticked. They'd be mad. They'd be screaming. They'd be yelling. They'd be setting their hair on fire. They'd be on the news all the time, screaming and yelling. This is terrible. This is the end of the Constitution. All of the things, right? You can just imagine how it would go, right? Then suppose he still won. Suppose he won the primary. Suppose he won the general election. Suppose he is the next president of the United States. What would people conclude in the Republican Party about the Republican Party? They would conclude you can run for office as a Republican and be anti-gun, be pro-gun control, whatever word you want to use, and that's a Republican position. You can have that position and you can run and you can win, right? Now Trump has come out as a pro-choice Republican, a pro-abortion Republican, a Republican that says heartbeat bills are wrong, a Republican who says protecting the unborn early on in pregnancy is terrible and harsh and you're a bad person for trying to protect the unborn early in pregnancy. Well, suppose he wins the primary. Suppose he wins the general. What are people going to conclude? They're going to conclude you can be a pro-choice, pro-abortion, Planned Parenthood, NARAL Republican, fine with abortion, up to 15 weeks or later, in every state. You can be that person and run for president. Heretofore, you couldn't do that. Heretofore, that was just like, there's no way. You can't have an anti-heartbeat bill, for example, position and run for president. You'd never win. But if Trump does that breaks that. And so now people are going to say, well, I guess the Republican Party, maybe they're partially pro-choice, they're partially pro-life and partially pro-choice. It's an existential threat to the pro-life movement. Trump represents an existential threat. Now that might sound like hyperbole, but let's remember, Trump switched the Republican Party from free trade to fair trade, tariffs and all that. He switched the Republican Party from we love cheap labor for our corporations to we're against illegal immigration. He switched the Republican Party from we're hawks. We want to go fight if somebody is shooting a gun, we want to be there shooting a gun with them. We're hawks. We want to invade, fight everywhere. There's vacuums of power all over the place. We got to fill them a police world, police officers of the world. That's what we were. And now he's like, no, we're doves. We're doves. We're isolationists. We're going to only get involved if national interests are involved. We're, national interest type thing. We're nationalists. We're not going to get involved in everybody else's business. So he switched the party from those things. And some of those things I agree with. Some of those things I don't agree with. That doesn't matter. My point is he is a force. And he has moved the Republican Party on a number of issues. And he can do it on abortion. He's done it at least those 3 times. There's probably more I'm not thinking of. He could do it on the abortion issue. He is an existential threat to the pro-life movement. So he needs to back off of his position that the heartbeat bill is terrible and harsh. He needs to say it's fine for states to have whatever kind of law they want to have. As president, he would do whatever at the federal level and say, but no, I have no problem with states with having, Texas has a lot of pro-life laws. I'm okay with that. The people of Texas aren't bad people for protecting the unborn, early in pregnancy. The people of Iowa, they're not bad Republicans. They're not bad evangelicals. They're not harsh and terrible people for passing a heartbeat bill. The people of Tennessee, those are nice people. They're not bad Republicans for passing pro-life laws. He needs to come out and backtrack from his statement where he attacked pro-life laws that protect the unborn. And by the way, have been saving thousands of lives. They've been saving thousands of lives. So we need Trump to back off of that. And we got to keep calling him out until he does. Thanks.